If you could please introduce yourselves to our listeners, we would much enjoy that.
Oh, why, hello. I am Gary Bender. Was
And
what
I,
was that exhilarating enough for you?
I mean, you're Gary Bender and you do what?
I'm a singer-songwriter, musician from Southern California in Orange County. So I play pop punk music, I guess you could say, if that's what you want to call it. I don't even know. Are genres real anymore? We all play whatever the hell we want to play.
It's
But yeah.
true. It's true. We've
Yeah,
had this conversation many a times that a lot of genres don't really exist. Everything's genre bending these days.
you kind of have to, with the way that the internet.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So, so I'm just curious because, many solo artists go by something other than their real name. What made you decide to go with your real name? Unless
Mhm.
Gary Bender isn't your real name.
Uh-oh. No, it actually is. So I've been in bands throughout my entire career. Pop punk bands, emo bands, screamo bands, hardcore bands, and then at some point down the line, those bands, kind of dispersed and went on their own way. So then afterwards, I kind of started doing like some singer-songwriter stuff, and I just played under my own name. Um, and I've I've gone back and forth with whether or not I should like make a moniker or make like a band name like Dashboard Confessional or Games We Play or something like that. And I probably should have done that, but I've been doing it under my own name for so long now that I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna stay what this is, and it's a little different, I guess, because I'm not like a pop act. But yeah, I consider myself a songwriter first and foremost, so I figured why not just keep my name.
Well, I mean, if you're also writing other stuff for other people potentially.
Right, exactly. So composing and stuff like that as well. I'd be lying if I said that performing still isn't like the most fucking fun thing to do ever. So I like that, but I do like writing as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were in bands before you were a solo artist. What made you decide to venture off on your own?
Just in all honesty, just to keep trucking, to keep going. After the bands kind of dispersed, like I knew that like I didn't want to stop, so to speak. And I've always kind of had a big hand in all of the writing, whether it was guitars, bass, piano, and singing and arrangement and whatnot. So I felt like, okay, well, if I don't have everybody else, I guess I'm just gonna have to try to do it all on my own and hope I don't fall flat on my face. But it helped. It worked. I actually wound up getting to do some fun tours as a solo artist. I actually got to open up for like Ryan Cabrera and Jeff from Thursday, Howie Days, and then the Spill Canvas. So some of those bands, like those bands, kind of had like acoustic singer songwriter elements to them, so it kind of fit really well. And then like once I had those shows, I felt that there was like no turning back. It's like, all right, well, you're just gonna go on as Gary Bender, and you have to deal with it now.
So being a solo artist now, what is your writing process like?
It's always I'm really weird. Everything starts in the shower, believe it or not. I like I don't know why. Some of my best ideas, or my favorite, I should say, because I don't consider myself anything the best, but some of my favorite ideas that I've ever come up with have always been in the shower. I either come up with a lyric or a line or a melody, and I have to keep my phone right outside of the shower because I always have to like voice memo it immediately. So it usually starts around something like that, and then I'll just grab an acoustic guitar and I'll start, piecing something together around like that. Which is weird because a lot of songwriters are like, "Oh, I'll first start playing the guitar and come up with like a chord progression and a melody." For me, it starts with lyrics. I've loved lyrics. I think that's probably my favorite part of writing. Um, I just love being a writer, and I don't know if I really express myself the right way when I'm speaking. So I'm sorry if this interview sucks for you guys. But when it comes to music, I feel like I can tell a story. I can explain how I feel. And I love that. I truly like love that more than anything because I feel like that's where I can be like my truest self. So it always starts with the lyrics for me.
Now that's kind of where it starts in the shower. Have you ever had inspiration come to you from a an even stranger place, like outside or maybe you were, I don't know, uh,
Oh,
on
it
a
comes
train
everywhere.
shower?
No, no, honestly, it comes everywhere. I do a lot of driving during my day to day, so I'm always observing. I'm always very present. You have to be, or else you're going to get into kind of like a car crash. So, a lot of that tends to inspire as well. And same deal. I'll come up with something and I'll pull off the side of the road, and I can't tell you how many times, and I gotta do a voice memo or hey, da 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 da, something stupid that I just don't want to forget. And then the second I get home, I'll start, messing around with my guitar and trying to put that crazy, stupid idea that sounded in the moment, and actually create it into something like real later that day. But it happens all the time. I live by the beach too, so the beach is very, inspiring as well, just nature in general. Um, and there's also life too, which can kind of suck. So that there's always that to kind of help inspire you too.
I
Yeah, and
think that's
how
what most people get inspired by. Crap in their life going on. Mhm.
That's I'd be who am I fucking kidding right now? I'm not inspired by the goddamn beach. I'm inspired by the shit that goes on in my head, what I'm going through in my day to day, and I like writing about it because it's the purest, best form of therapy for me personally.
yeah, and writing about those experience and emotions, how do you hope that that resonates with others?
Honestly, I've come to the point in my life and in my like music career that I don't care. I want people to obviously resonate and understand, but my stuff is pretty straightforward. Like I'm talking about my depression. I'm talking about, my struggles. I'm talking about love. I'm talking about my family. So I don't think that there's much to really decipher. So for that, I like to put it all out there, just blatant. So hopefully anybody that's can like hear true honesty and vulnerability. I think that's how I want it to resonate. There's no gimmicks, there's no acts. I talk about mental health and a lot of the things that I go through very openly on my Instagram and on my socials. And if anything, I just want people to hear my songs and just know that I know this is going to sound cliche, but you're not alone. You can get through this. There's avenues and there's people and there's things that can help. And if my music has 0.0000001% of an impression or helps in any kind of situations, that's the biggest fucking gratification in the world is knowing that like, yeah, I hear you. I've been through that. I go through that. And I just wanted to say your songs, I've done that. I felt that. That's all I give a shit about.
It's a good goal, especially with the mental health aspect. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
do struggle with that and don't reach out or anything like that.
Yeah. Even though you tell people to reach out, they still don't. So
It's
hopefully
hard.
at least your music is reaching them.
I hope so. And I do get DMs and I do get messages, and it's still kind of surreal that a stupid song with some stupid lyrics that I made up in my shower, like people like care enough to like take the time to like write me. Like that's insane to me. Like I did that stuff to for like other people and other artists, and I just still consider myself like the lamest dude ever. So the fact that like people say like your song really helped me today. I've had it on repeat. I just wanted to say that you're not alone either. Like I get rewarded like just hearing that. Okay, I'm not alone. It's the coolest fucking thing ever, and I don't think I'll ever get used to it. And I don't want to get used to it because it's the most sincere form of like a compliment that any artist could ever get or receive for sure.
Hmm.
Now, I'm just genuinely curious, as someone who's had plenty of mental health issues myself. Do you ever feel tuned in to other people? Like maybe they don't recognize that what they're going through is a mental health thing, but like you're keen to it and you're like, but you know you can't talk to them because they're gonna be like, no, it's not, get out of here.
For
Am I the
sure.
only one? Okay.
No, not at all. So first things first, I want to say I'm sorry for your struggles. I hope that you're doing better, buddy. Um, it's I don't think if anybody doesn't know what it's like, it's like they'll you then you know, but like it's like the most impossible thing to kind of explain what living your everyday normal life is. Like I really wish I could come and find the perfect words, the perfect melody, and not even just in a song, just in general. If somebody wants to explain, like, hey, Gary, explain to me what this is. Explain to me what that is. Like, tell me how it affects your life. I don't know if I could. It's the craziest thing, but when you're around other people that have been afflicted by those kinds of demons or those kinds of struggles, you like you said, you're kind of in tune to it. Like you can almost sense it without even having to know. And again, then you know that you're not alone. And I hope that whether or not whatever state of mind that you're in, you're able to, talk to them, even if it's not directly about what's going on. You can edge in a conversation however you want it to be, and that sometimes that's all it takes. Just a conversation. We could be talking about music, movies, whatever. Like what you had for lunch last night. Lunch last night. You know what I mean. But I think that just sometimes just talking is what's really the most beneficial thing. And if you can't tell, I do a lot of talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I've ever since like so I've had like anxiety and panic attacks since I was 13. So, this is 25 years now that I've dealt with them. This past September, Jess knows it hit me really hard. It took me out of the podcast for what, 2, 3 months ish.
Ish.
So dang, where was I going with this? There was somewhere I was going with it. Oh, the best way to describe it, because this is a music podcast, right? The best way to describe anxiety and depression when you thought you were feeling good is you're at like a really good metalcore show and they're about to close out. They're playing the song everyone wants to hear. They do the build up to the breakdown and the venue just pulls the plug right before the drop. That's what it's
I love
like.
that. Oh my God. Hey, I'm gonna golf clap. Golf clap.
Golf
That's
clap. Golf
I think you
clap.
just nailed it. I just think you just did it,
Should we
dude.
snap instead? It's like you're at a
I quit. I quit. Love it.
like we were it was so poetic. We were at a poetry reading.
So poetic, I forgot what I was saying like 3 seconds beforehand.
You know what? I have
I'm on the
thoughts
right
leave my we're
podcast.
getting older. We're getting older. My thoughts lose I lose my thoughts all the time and have to really think of them again. And sometimes they never come back to me.
Same. You're not alone.
You're not alone, Chris. You're not alone.
That should be the name of this episode.
You're not
You're
alone.
not alone.
It could
Oh
be.
Uh,
shit.
It could be like Gary Bender, parentheses, you're not alone.
Oh
Chris is
God.
like,
You don't want
oh
to do
my
the
that.
look
God.
to the side, the look to
It
the
will be
side as you said you're not alone. It was like with somebody there with you.
I kind of just look off every now and then for no apparent reason.
that would be the biggest that would make this episode sound like the biggest downer episode like ever. So let's not do that.
Let's not. We won't. We won't. I
Uh,
was gonna say too, you were all like talking about someone's lunchtime, but it was like in the evening
Dinner.
time. And like, it could be dinner, it could be lunch. They could work third shift, you know?
It's very true. I don't know where your listeners are from. Perhaps it is. I don't know.
am I the only one here who is a
They
firm
could be watching
believer?
and
I was gonna say I'm a firm believer in Linner,
Literally.
especially on the weekend, where I'm like,
love dinner.
I have a late breakfast, and then like by the time it's like 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'm hungry.
Yep.
Let's go out to eat, and it's 3 o'clock. Going out for some Linner.
Hey, half the time
Well,
we're
it's
we're out and about,
it's
we just snack.
5:49. Yeah. I haven't had lunch yet, and it's 5:49. So I had some Krispy Kreme donuts this morning, real healthy, a coffee, and that's it. And I haven't eaten yet, but I also just have a weird appetite like schedule. But I'm a big fan of Linner because then it's like I can just snack later on if I want to, like you said. I'm fine with that.
I'm a snacker all day, every day, all
All
day
day,
long.
son. All day.
Yep.
Love it.
All right, so getting back to your music, your latest single, "Worry About Me," came out on Valentine's Day. Is this just a single, or are we seeing the start of maybe building up an EP?
So this was actually the last song that was going to be on the EP, but I'm actually back in the studio and I'm working on new songs. I had done The Waterfall. I'd been like releasing a song like every like 3 or 4 months or so. And this was going to be the last one, but I was back in the studio with my producer that I work with a few months ago, and we started just writing more. So I'd love to say that it was the last song, but it's definitely not. There's definitely going to be more. Um, it's funny because if you listen to the songs of the progression of all the of each single, like they're very poppy, very very pop punk, very four chord, like happy, 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 and then you gradually start to get like a little heavier, and it's strange because I love pop punk. That's what I consider like my actual genre, but the new stuff is really starting to not sound like that, and that's exciting because I'd love to be able to somehow like morph my like pop punk influences and sound into something like that's my own. And it's really hard to do in pop punk because everybody kind of sounds exactly the same. A lot of the songs sound exactly the same, but I think it's like how you present it and what you say with, those four chords or the same, progressions that you want to use to kind of help stand out. So I'm really hoping that this new phase and these new songs right after Worry About Me kind of continue on that trajectory because I feel like I'm starting to tap into something that's not what I've done before, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's got to branch out some way. So if you think you're branching out. So wait, you said you have now you're writing more. So does that mean you're trying to like maybe put together a full
Yeah.
length instead of an EP?
I would love to do a full. No, it'll most likely wind up being an EP. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I write so much. Um, and I'm this guy that like I love records that are like amazing from start to finish, like 10 out of 10 bangers. Like those, and there's so few and far between. So for me, I always aim for that. I'm like, I want a 10 out of 10 record. And I don't know, that's a lot to ask. That's a lot to ask. And I'm very confident in my songwriting abilities, but I don't know if people want to hear 10 songs of me yet. They might listen to the 4 songs that I have out, or the newest stuff that I've released, and be like, we're good after 5 or 6 songs. So I'm gonna have to test the waters and see what the audience wants. Obviously, don't want to be oversaturating, don't want to be underwhelming. I'm just always gonna keep writing and recording, and if it comes out as a full length, it comes out as a full length. If I think that I've got like 10 hits that I'm really really happy with, um, and hits are like what I consider hits, like to myself. I don't care about like what sounds cool or what everybody else like wants to hear. They've got to be like 10 hits for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that takes a lot because I'm my own worst critic. I like hate like 9 out of the 10 things that I write, and then I'm back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So that would be a pretty lengthy process without people hearing any new music for a while, I think, if I tried to do a full length.
It's true. It's true. People do. We've had this conversation where a lot of people just don't have the attention spans to wait that long for stuff sometimes. And then they're not interested in you anymore.
The generation that we live in now, it's sad.
It is. It is.
But
Now,
I mean,
now,
it is what it is.
now I'm curious. You were talking about there's only so many albums that you could listen to from front to back that would make your list. Now, what albums do you have any right off the top of your head you can think of?
Um, yes. Weezer, the Blue Album, perfect album in my mind. Jimmy Eat World, Clarity, perfect record all the way through. Um, Green Day, Dookie, probably perfect all the way through. And I'm sure there's like about a billion more. But those are just a few that like I know that like when it comes on, I'm like, I don't think I really need to. I don't think I really need to hit the skip button. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
good.
What are you going to
What?
say, Jess? Olive Story of the Years discography?
What are you talking about? You know me so well. Every story of the year record
I mean, story of the year is
is
phenomenal.
every story of the year record is perfect from front to back. I'm sorry. They may not agree with that when it comes to the constant, but it's still a great record and it's a perfect record as well. So, but no, I would also say like Matchbook Romance, their first record. That
Oh my
one,
gosh,
it's
love
amazing.
Matchbook Romance.
That
Oh,
first record is
absolutely.
just amazing. No, not that.
It
That would be
is.
their second record, wouldn't it? They had like an EP
Yeah, that NEP. Are you thinking
beforehand.
Stories and Alibis?
Yes, that one. That's the perfect
Yes.
record from front to back. I would
That's
definitely
funny
pick
that
that
you
one.
mentioned that because at the time when after they recorded that record, like a lot of bands were going to like the same producers, and I want to say that they recorded that with a producer named John Niclario. I'm pretty sure he did it, and he's from upstate New York. And at the time, I think he did like My Chemical Romance and a whole bunch of other like local bands that like I was huge fans of. And those records are like what made me want to record my first stuff like with him. And again, yeah, that first matchbook was just oh my god, so good, so good.
I'm trying to think if I think of any other records, but All Story of the Year and Matchbook is what I think of at off the top of my head. What about you, Chris?
Oh,
You should have known this question was going to be thrown at you as well.
yeah, of course. The first Fall Out Boy album, for sure. Take This to Your Grave, is good front to back.
Okay, yes, that is.
Um, oh gosh. Discovering the Waterfront by Silverstein.
Mm-hmm. Both those records are great. See, there is a lot of
Oh yeah.
records that are great from front to back. I would also say, hey,
Oh,
actually, no,
Glassjaw.
yeah,
Yeah, Glassjaw is on there for me too. Um,
you're getting us with the older
what?
bands.
Yeah, but that's because it was just better. It was better.
For Those
It
Who
was
Have
just
Heart
better.
by A Day to
I
Remember.
know, and it's oh,
The
great
list
record
could go
too.
on, Chris. The list could go on.
This is the episode
Yeah.
now. Let's just keep going.
I was gonna throw in like a couple the most recent and the record right before the most recent Normandy record, but I don't know if either of you have listened to those. No.
Who?
Normandy, a band Normandy.
Oh no, I don't believe so.
No, you'll have to check them out. They went on the covers tour with Our Last Night.
Oh, cool. I love Our Last Night.
Yep, they have great
Even
records.
before they did the covers. But they are great at their covers. I'll give them that.
They
They're
are cover
phenomenal.
kings for sure.
They are. But they were great. They were like a great band to begin with. They could have just gone that route too, but
The covers took
whatever.
off, and that got them the bigger following. But I mean, I think they're working on a new record actually, so a regular
I hope
record.
so. I hope so.
I want to get them on the podcast, but nobody ever writes me back.
Those bastards.
How dare them? How dare them?
How dare they?
All right, back to more about your music again. Keep Breathing gives me Riddling Kid vibes.
Does it really?
A little
That's
bit.
funny.
I hear a little bit of Riddling Kids in there for some reason. But who are some of your biggest influences?
Um, it's honestly, it's I love that question. But it spans. I love music in general. So I love everything from like metal to pop to country to jazz. I like love it all. But obviously, influential wise, I mean, here we go. Blink 182. They are the kings for me. Green Day. And then I like Bring Me the Horizon a lot, believe it or not. From their old to their new, I feel like their evolution as a band has been like awesome. Um, I do like Taylor Swift. I don't have any hate for her. I think she's a great songwriter. I won't ever like go see her in concert or anything, but I think she's a great songwriter.
Don't
And then
need
I
to
like
give her any
heavier stuff,
money.
like yeah, no, not at all. But and then I have like my heavier stuff too that like I'm really into. I mentioned Glassjaw earlier. Um, Jesus, there's just so many. Um,
Oh,
it's
Jesus is
funny.
one of them?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I gotta. It's the right thing to say, right? You gotta say that. Jimmy Eat World again. They're like one of those bands that I think that just like always put out great records. So I'll always say Jimmy Eat World. Um, I think Jim Adkins is a phenomenal songwriter. Um, yeah, Blink, Green Day, Jimmy. But I do think that there's like a lot of really good like up and coming like musicians as well. There's a singer songwriter artist named Taylor Acorn. I think she's awesome. I think that she writes some really great songs. Um, oh, I like new Emarosa. I think Emarosa is phenomenal. I think that they're like bridging the gap between like what they used to do and their pop stuff now.
Hmm.
And Bradley is a awesome singer. So I definitely love Emarosa. And then like again, I'm a pop punk guy, so like Neck Deep, the story so far, bands like that I feel like will always just kind of have like a staple sound that I'll always resonate with. That teenage angst that just doesn't really go away, I guess.
It's true. It never does. You never grow out of it. You still have a little bit of
No,
teenage angst, even in an older age. We all are
yeah,
angsty emo kids
ab- I
forever.
I will forever be that guy. Yeah, I think so.
Just speaking of forever angsty emo kids, I tell you I am when I'm going to Maryland, I'm dragging my boss to an emo show.
You didn't tell me you were bringing your boss to an emo show.
What show?
It is Armor for Sleep with Boys Night Out and Hello Goodbye.
Boys Night Out. I'm going to that show too. I'm going to it when they come to California. I loved Boys Night Out. And Armor for Sleep's from Jersey, which is where I'm originally from. So rock on, Armor for Sleep. That's gonna be a fun show.
I hope your
Can't wait.
boss likes it.
Well, she's a elder emo herself,
Well, then
so
how were you dragging her? She should want to go.
well because apparently she never leaves her house when she's done working.
Ah,
And I was like, you gotta come. And she goes, why? I'm like, because the tickets were BOGO over the weekend. So I have two tickets. So you have to.
That's sick. That's
I
awesome.
mean, I guess
Yeah,
if
I'm
she
excited
doesn't
for that show.
go, I'm not flying there. Sorry. Not unless you're buying me a plane ticket. No, okay. So I'm curious, I've read that you had some songs that were on some MTV shows. What songs were featured on MTV shows?
So back in the day when I was like, well, I guess I keep saying like I'm a singer-songwriter. I still am. It's funny, I have a song called um Because She's Beautiful and The Diner Scene, and both of those songs were used on that show, um, not the Laguna Beach, right when like Kristen Cavallari and the whoever the other guy was were like walking on the beach hand in hand, and they like played my song like as they were like going through a sunset, and that was like the craziest thing in the world to me when that happened. Like I was super young. I think I was still only like 18 or 19 years old, and I didn't even know it happened. I had my sidekick. I think I was at work at the time, and my phone was blowing up. I had a whole bunch of friends call me, and they were like, "Dude, I was hanging out in my room and I heard one of your songs." And he's like, and I turned around and it was on the TV. And I was like, "Shut up, dude." He's like, "No, seriously," because I didn't even know that it was on. I didn't even know it got licensed. And then like three other people called me the exact same day, and I'm just my little sidekick. I keep flipping it. I'm like, "There's no way." So I stayed up until like 1 in the morning to see if they would like replay it. And sure enough, there was my song. It was on Laguna Beach, which was so poetic because that's where I moved to when I moved out to California. Ironically enough, it was really funny that that kind of happened that way. And then there was also another show. It was like a dating show. It was either like Next, I think it was, or like where you had to like choose like a guy based on like how they answer questions or something like that.
I think it was
Um,
called that, yeah.
yeah, they came up with like a bus or something stupid like that. But they used another one of my songs for that too, which was really cool. It was like my first time like feeling validated as like an artist. So that was really rad.
I'll have to go look. I'll have to go watch. What episode of Laguna Beach was it?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not that cool.
Oh man.
I'll have to find it though. I know. I'll have to find out. I'll tell you what. I'll find out. I'll send you the episode and the timestamp.
Even just the episode, I can figure out the timestamp, you know. They're walking on the beach, you
Yeah,
said, so
they are. Yeah, some kind of drama happened. I don't know.
I mean,
Drama walking on the beach, Laguna Beach, isn't that nearly the entire series?
It's the
I
whole premise of the
mean,
whole show, the entire series.
MTV shows were about drama, so they were definitely about drama, especially when they started to like, not play music videos anymore.
Ugh, right?
Ugh.
Terrible.
MTV, you can't
Because
even
there was
call it
like
music
bands that like you
television
wanted to
anymore.
see. There was it sucks because it started to like they started to like stop playing music like right around the time like when bands that like I like loved started to finally like get big enough to like have their songs and videos on MTV. Like I remember it was like Thrice, another band that probably is like start to finish awesome. And Newfound Glory. Oh my god, how the fuck did I forget about Newfound Glory? They're in the Rushmore too. Newfound Glory, absolutely. But like it was like right around that time and I remember like always wanting to see their music videos and aside from like a random like spanking new music thing like I never got to see the bands that like I wanted to see and they were just starting to blow up and pop punk was starting to be big like the Starting Line, Newfound Glory and all those cool bands but they played them at like 1 a.m. and then you never heard from them again because it just became like Snooki and the Jersey Shore and
Hmm.
whatever other
The real
bullshit.
world.
The Real World. Yes, exactly. They somehow they've milked that for 30 fucking years.
So speaking of the
We're living in the real world. We get it. We all know. We all have the same shit.
so speaking of the real world, any plans for touring or doing any shows in the real world?
Actually, yes, I just got offered a show yesterday actually, so it's fun to talk about it. I'll be playing it's weird. So I'm actually it happened so abruptly that I'm gonna wind up doing it as like a two piece. I'm going to do it with my buddy Derek. We're gonna have like he's gonna play live drums and I have all the backing tracks to everything. And we're gonna do like almost like a 21 Pilots kind of scenario. And so I'll be playing March 6th in San Diego at this venue called The Beat. It's gonna be really, really rad. I just got like all the details like this morning, so it's gonna be like my first show playing all these new songs for the first time. So I'm really, really excited. It should be really rad. And then hopefully a string of like West Coast states during the spring and summer for sure. I am gonna have a ton of new music that I'm sure I'll be releasing soon. So I'm gonna want to support that in some way. It's expensive to tour, but it's easier when you're a solo artist. So I'll figure out a way to do that and get my music out to as many people that want to hear it as possible.
Yeah. I could see that though. It is expensive to tour, especially nowadays.
Yeah, and I mean, I did it back. We all did it back in the day, right? Like you would either rent a van or your parents would like co-sign on a van and a trailer, and you'd find a way to make it work. But things were a little bit more manageable back then. People like you could call up venues, you can call up promoters, you could say, "Hey, so and so is coming through this state during this time. Gee, can we hop on a show?" During the days of like MySpace or like Friendster or whatever the hell it was, I don't even know. But it was just like so much easier to like hop on like absolutepunk.net and like be
Hmm.
able to like find a show to find a show to hop on and those were the good old days and so I hope to be able to bring some of that back in some way shape or form. It's just a time in my life that I hold so dear to me and I think it really helped shape like the music that I make now and just the person that I am too. So hope we can get back to that instead of just like all the cool TikTokers and all that fun shit.
Right.
That'd be something fun
Yeah,
to do, like almost make like a new form or website where it's like buildyourbill.com and you just have all the bands get together and they can make their own shows to play together.
I think you just came up with $1 million idea, dude.
Oh
Like
shit,
that.
we better cut that out and
Yeah.
then
Somebody's gonna steal that. Somebody's gonna steal that. Because
Nobody's
yeah,
nobody's
it's
stolen our emo love.
No,
our
nobody's
emo
stolen
love
our
show
emo
yet.
emo love show. But no, because that would be sweet to be able to have that again and just have bands be like, "Hey, I want to play with you. Yeah, I'd love to play with you guys," and just make it happen.
That would
There's
be
like
cool.
there just needs to be like less ego in the scene still. Like back then, I feel like it was a band of brothers. Like everybody was trying to do the same thing, but it was more of like a party. Like I remember all the bands that like I was in and all the bands that we toured with, like it was summer camp. It was a band of brothers and we all supported each other. We goofed off. We had a great time, but we took it so fucking seriously because it was our dream. And I just feel like nowadays people don't have to work as hard for it because of social media and stuff like that. Like I saw some kind of like interview that said like, oh, these kids that are TikTokers that, put out like one song and they're like, oh, they can fill up a venue of like 2,000 people. Could they really though off of like one song? It takes like years and years of like touring and or it did at least. It took years and years of touring to kind of build up that fan base, but along that way, you made so many friends. You had so many bands that were kind of intertwined and interconnected some way, shape, or form. And a lot of those fans became fans of other bands just because of that brotherhood and that summer camp vibe. Um, and I think that's just something that's missed right now in the culture.
I can see that.
Hopefully, I mean, it would be cool if Warp Tour was like a real thing and not just like a 3 day festival kind of thing. Because those were like your brothers. Like when you did those
Hmm.
kinds of shows, it was grueling, it was agony, but it was like the most fucking fun you could have with your best buds and your best buds because everybody was there. Um, that's like what you looked forward to the most, and now it's just like I think it's just going to be like a couple of dates,
It
so it's not the
is.
same scenario. Yeah, it's not like the same vibe. Whereas like you're bearing the elements together, and you're in the thick of it with each other.
Well, I'll find out in November if it's the same vibe, but I'm sure it's not.
Are you
Going,
going?
I'm going to Orlando.
Sick, cool.
Chris is
Yeah, I
still
think mine
debating.
is in Long Beach.
Yeah, there's one in Long Beach and then DC.
That's where they are. Yeah, and Long Beach is literally only like 15 or 20 minutes from me, but I'm still like I haven't looked at ticket prices. I don't want
Well,
to.
it's sold out in Long Beach, so.
Oh no.
And DC. Orlando's the only one not sold out. Not yet.
Damn it. It probably would have been fun to go to, but just for the hell of it, just to see how it's a has either changed or if it's still rooted in like what it was, it still would have probably been really cool. Because again, all the bands I love and came up with, they're all playing it. Like it's cool because they're just it's almost like a when we were young fest again, but
Actually,
different.
there actually haven't been a ton of big hitters from like what we're used to. Like it's a lot of newer bands that I've never even heard of. I told Chris, I was like, I'm gonna have to look up some of these bands. I've never heard of them. I've got to look them up and see what they're like so we can try and get them on the pod.
A
Uh,
lot of them I keep seeing like when they like remove like the black label from like the bill
right.
every so often. There's a lot of good like up and coming bands and stuff like that that I like that are even going to be like on this one out here. So might have to try to figure out a way to get in if it's worth it.
Who knows? Maybe they'll release a few more tickets or something closer to the date.
What do they got against making money? Absolutely
Nothing.
nothing.
So, speaking of Warp Tour, not that I want you to create anything that big, but if you were making your own tour, who would you bring with you?
Past, present, or
It
like
it
of
could
like right
be
now.
it could be like a dream. Like who would you love to
Oh,
bring on tour?
oh man, I would love to tour with man. It'd have to be like Newfound Glory, um, Blink 182. Who else? I mean, I'd have to say Green Day just because like they just are so commanding and they're just pop punk royalty. Um, and then
Oh,
yeah, probably Jimmy Eat World,
so it's
and
a
I'd have to
stadium
open.
tour.
I mean, yeah, and that's like what, and I'm probably playing like the parking lot outside of all of those, where no, where nobody will hear me, which sounds about right. But I'd be so stoked and I'd be so fine with it just to like have like my name be like that big on the bill underneath all the cool bands. But no, like I said, like there's like a lot of really great new like pop punk. Like I love Neck Deep. They're not even new, but like I feel like they're starting to like really like take off. And their last record was so good. Like that's a 10 out of 10 record too, I think. New school. But yeah, I think I got to go with the Rushmore bands: Green Day, Blink, Newfound Glory, Jimmy Eat World. I probably sound like every other dude that you've probably ever interviewed when it comes to pop punk on this podcast.
No,
We've had some different answers. And it was funny because they were like, "Oh, I'd probably be opening in the parking lot." Who were we talking to that was supposed to open for Scott Stapp but ended up headlining the
that
show?
was Is It Josh?
It was Is It Josh?
It
Oh,
was
that was
when
a
he was
great
in
story.
his old band, and he was like, "Yeah, our band was supposed to open for Scott Stapp," and the sound guy was like, "No, you're not. I don't have, connection for you and all this and panels or whatever it's called again. I don't. What is it called?
Channels?
Like a
Channels." And I don't have enough channels for you. And he's like, "If you want, you can go on after Scott Stapp." And he was all like, "Okay, we'll do that." And so they went on after Scott Stapp.
that's amazing.
I thought it was great. And he's like, "I called his bluff. I called his bluff."
Hey, good for him, getting what he deserves.
And he said he got the crowd to turn back around and listen to him, so, it wasn't a waste.
Hey, get your money's worth. Stay around. Get all the music that you possibly can.
Yeah,
Yep.
and didn't he say like at some point in the back, like Scott Stapp passed by and he was like, "Oh, you're the guy that's closing the show?"
Yeah. And he fist bumped him and stuff.
Yeah.
Ah, it's a great story. We love stories. Got any stories?
We love all the stories. I just don't know what kind of story you want to hear.
Well, we don't care. We hear everything. Like, from playing shows. Even when you were in bands. Got any crazy stories?
Other than so, I mean, there's crazy tour stories, but
Yeah, that's what
nothing
we're
that you
talking
probably
about.
haven't heard, but nothing that you probably haven't heard before. There was this one time we were on tour with a few drive-through bands, and we stayed in Wisconsin. We stayed at this hotel in Wisconsin, I want to say, and there was a water park inside the hotel room. Not the hotel room, but like the hotel. There was like a slide and everything. So you can only imagine the kind of shit that we got into that night. It's still a little blurry, but I do remember there's a water slide. We turned one of the showers into just like a big like cooler for all of our beers and alcohol. So like nobody could take a shower that night, so everybody stunk. But there was a whole tub just filled with beer and alcohol that like everybody kind of just like filtered into the room, went into the bathroom, took a piss, and grabbed a beer, and they were like on their way. I have very vague memories of those times, not because I was inebriated, but just because I've got really bad like retention because of whatever the hell I have going on up here. It's so hard because I really wish could remember like all the great things that like I've been through and all the. It's funny. I can't remember all the great things, but I can remember all the fucked up things that have happened. So that's I think another reason why I want to create like so many like new memories because I want to like relive all the shit that like I got into back in those days. That
Yeah.
way, now I can have like a better recollection of it because I feel like so much life has happened and it's like pushed out so many things that I want to make. I want to get them back. I hope that when I die, like there's like a videotape of like your entire life and you can see like all these awesome highlights of the crazy shit that you did because I really want to like have a better recollection on like what happened on that tour or something like that, you know? Because again, it was never like we were just like crazy partying. Um, it's just that I don't remember shit anymore. I'm just getting too old.
I wish you remembered what hotel it was. What city was it in?
I want to say it was Wisconsin.
No, I mean like what city in Wisconsin? Wisconsin's not a city.
Oh, I have no idea. Oh, that's right. It's not. See, I'm fucking dumb. I'm gonna have to call up some of my dudes. I'll have to find that out.
I'd be curious if it was like the Dells, Wisconsin Dells,
I
because
couldn't
that's
tell you.
that's the water park mecca of Wisconsin. So
Is it?
yeah, I mean I'm from
I
Wisconsin,
wonder.
so
Oh shit! Are you serious? That's crazy.
you're talking about Wisconsin, and I'm sitting in it right now. I'm in Wisconsin.
That's awesome. That was a badass show, by the way. You guys brought it.
But I would be curious though. You should definitely ask around and see if you can figure out. Because I'm like, I got like one. There's this hotel that has a water park attached to it that's like 15 minutes away from me. Otherwise, the Dells is like an hour.
Really?
Yeah, and
I
it's a water
have
park.
photos in a photo album. I have tons of photos in a photo album back in Jersey at my parents' house. I know that the good old days when you'd actually have to go get shit like developed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely photos. There's definitely photos from that hotel and from that night, like back in my photo albums at home. I'll have to get them for you.
yep. I want to know. I want to know. I want to investigate this more. All right.
Let's do it.
While we're not investigating this anymore, uh, seeing as you're a tattoo enthusiast, what are some of the your favorite tattoos you've had done?
What makes you think I am a tattoo enthusiast?
Well, it says it on one of your profiles online, and you have a bunch of tattoos.
Damn, you do your due diligence. Yeah, no, I mean obviously. I've got a one of my favorites is obviously I have a 50s microphone right here. I love that
Hmm.
one. This whole arm is actually all like 50s. So there's like a jukebox right here, a 50s mic. I have Marilyn Monroe right there. This whole arm is pretty much all dedicated to like family and music. Um, this whole arm is pretty much gambling. Not that I'm really a huge gambler. I mean, I do gamble, but I've just always loved like slot machines or roulette, and I always play like whenever I'm in either like Atlantic City or Vegas. And I do have a Vegas tattoo, even though I'm not from Vegas. And then I also have like a lot of band tattoos. So I've got Blink right there. I don't know if you can even see it. Yeah, there he is.
Hmm.
I have a Day to Remember tattoo around here. I have a crown that's right there. Um, I do like the crown. It was I got it during like a really uh, cool part of my life. But I have tattoos for my mom, my dad, my sister. Um, a lot. I'm pretty much covered. Um, but I've got a couple of band tattoos. I've got a Blink tattoo. I've got a Day to Remember tattoo. I have oh, I have a neck deep tattoo. That's right, I forgot. Um, I've got a lot of band like just because again I'm a lyrics guy, so like
Hmm.
when I resonate like with lyrics, I really really like them. So um, I feel like I always need them to like remind me of something.
Yeah. I don't have any tattoos.
Get out of here!
No tattoos.
Party pooper.
I know I'm a party pooper. Chris has some.
Some, I think I'm at, I don't know,
He's not
somewhere around
completely covered
20-ish.
though.
It's like
No.
it's like therapy for me, in all honesty. I've fallen asleep getting tattooed before. It's something about like the buzz of the needle, or the just like the shop aroma, and just like the things that are kind of like the aesthetic of everything. I feel very very at peace, and it's like my one time to just kind of like turn off. Um, and I find it very meditating and very very therapeutic. So. I
Yeah,
definitely enjoy getting tattooed. I actually I have a tattoo appointment next week. Actually, I'm
look at
working on my
that.
leg.
Well, if you're almost covered all the way on top, now you got to move down to the legs.
I do. I do. I'm running out of real estate.
Uh-oh.
The the only tattoo I got that I did not find remotely relaxing is my collarbone. That sucked.
That's where I have my Day to Remember tattoo. I have keep your hopes up high and your head down low going around my collarbone. Um, I got that one done so long ago, but I want to say I agree with you. I don't remember it tickling.
No, no, as a matter of fact, like I've gone to the same guy for most of my
Yeah.
stuff, and I got two done that day. And so I was like, okay. He's like, do you want to do the collarbone now? He's like, it'll be like 10 or 15 minutes. Those 10 or 15 minutes may as well have been all day long because the entire time I was just wanted to punch something. Um, it it was excruciating. But that was the only one that I found to be painful. Um, I mean, obviously they don't, like you said, tickle, but
Right.
like they don't hurt per se.
Well, your
But yeah,
collarbone's
the
very
collarbone.
bony, so
Yeah,
Same. And I think I got it like when I was like 100 pounds soaking wet. So it didn't help that like they were basically tattooing like bone.
it's true.
yeah. And this other one I had gotten done on my forearm, I was getting it done, and there was another girl getting a tattoo sitting across from me, and she's like having a hard time. She's like, "How come he's not in pain?" I'm like, "I'm not getting my fucking foot tattooed." Like,
Yeah. The worst one, believe it or not, for me was my stomach. I have like a rocker stamp like going across like my like lower abdomen, and they were like pulling like lines, and every time they'd pull a line, like my like leg would shoot out because everything is connected, like it was just nerves. And I felt so bad because it took them forever just to start getting like the line work done, because every time they do a line on my like lower stomach, my leg would just kick out. I'm like, I'm sorry, like I literally I can't control this, like my body's just doing it. And it sucks because I had to get it done twice because I went back in and I got it shaded, and I was like, oh, here we go again, the same shit happened. So that's just staying however it is now. It's done. I'm never touching it up again. It's fine.
I
so
did.
the tattoo artist found your like the equivalent of your dog kicky spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's awesome. That's exactly what it was.
I watched a friend of mine get 4 stars on the side of their rib cage. That
Oh, I'm
was
sure they love
painful.
that.
No, it was not. It was
No,
not
I
fun.
bet.
I watched it too. I was like, ooh, ooh. And they were
You sit
like
there and you're
filled
like,
in. They were filled in stars. They were black filled in stars. That makes it even worse.
brutal. Hey,
So
that's
I've
what he.
watched people get tattoos. I just don't have any. Not yet. Maybe someday.
When I come to Wisconsin.
A story of the year tattoo, maybe?
Maybe. Maybe. I gotta get my cousin started, she started an apprenticeship, so she's becoming a tattoo artist. So,
Oh, you're gonna be the guinea pig for sure.
but I was like, she said she'd do a test on me though to make sure my skin wouldn't be allergic to any inks because I have
Oh,
very sensitive skin, so that's kind of why I have never gotten tattoos. And I'm like, we need to do a test spot. She's like, just come on down, I'll do it for you.
But before we leave tattoo talk real quick, I have a question for you, Gary, since you have a lot more than I do. Do you ever get any of your lines from on your tattoos? Do they ever get raised and bumpy?
yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
And it
Hmm.
only seems to be like the outline areas.
It
That's so
is,
weird.
yeah. Um, I wish I could say that like I knew what it was from, like confidently. I've heard that perhaps like the artist might have packed in too much ink, or um it could just be the area. I don't know if there's any validity to that, so don't quote me on it. But yeah, there's like some spots like, so I've got like nautical stars and some other shit like on my upper arms, and the outlines of them get very raised and bumpy, like you said, from time to time. And it could have just been because they were just packing in the color, or something like that. But I don't know, it's something to Google for sure.
Maybe
But
it's
yes.
maybe it's when we have too much iron in our diet or some stupid shit. Who knows?
I don't know. My husband has his one tattoo. He's got a tribal tattoo he got when he was 21 and he was drunk. And he's like, yeah, that raises up every now and then. The whole thing. It's
Hmm.
just one big
Yeah.
bump of
It seems to be
black.
black ink for the most part.
Yeah,
I think
which
it's your
makes me
body
think
all of a
it's
sudden rejecting it, trying to reject it.
it
It
could.
could be.
A part of me wants to say it has something to do with how much ink they packed into like the skin, because it only makes sense. But I'm just a fan. I'm not the artist, so I can't really go on
Right.
um on record with any of that.
No record. Can't
No
go on
record.
record.
No, they'll be like, that fucking kid doesn't know shit about what he's talking about, and I don't.
So you're also a sneakerhead. What kind of sneakers are we talking about, and how many pairs do you own?
So I used to be a huge sneakerhead, and when I tell you hundreds, I had hundreds of sneakers. I was obsessed. I was a Jordans guy. I since have sold off almost all of my collection. I've kept a couple that like have been like near and dear to me because what was funny is that like I would buy all these sneakers and I'd never wear them. I wear the same pair of Vans, the same pair of Converse, or like the same pair of like Nike Air Maxes. Like it's that's just like the rotation. But I had a closet to the ceiling of hundreds of sneakers. Um, I was a major fan of Michael Jordan growing up, still am. So whenever there was like a new Jordan that dropped, I had to get it. And it became like almost like an addiction, to be completely honest. Like I felt like I was missing out, like if I didn't get a drop, and it was becoming extremely expensive. And I was like, I could be using this money so much wiser. So I did, and I sold off a ton of my collection, and it actually helped pay for a lot of the new record and merch and stuff like that, like things that like truly matter to me now. So I have no regrets, but yeah, I had probably about like close to 300 pairs of Jordans. I want to say it was probably around like 250. All different styles, all different silhouettes. I just did one big bulk buy. I got rid of all of them, and it helped pay for studio time, merch,
Well,
a bunch
you
of
got to
other
do what you got to
stuff.
do.
It wasn't suiting me anymore, and I think it's okay to like admit that and like move away from things that no longer bring you happiness. At one time, a brand new pair of sneakers meant like everything. Um, that's not so much the case anymore. So it didn't hurt to kind of get rid of them, especially
Yeah.
again when I wear the same damn pair of Vans every single day. So
Yeah. I still have my very first pair of Chucks.
nice,
I
that's
don't wear
cool.
them. I don't wear them because
No,
they're disasters and there's pieces of soul missing out of them from the inside.
I still have the very first pair of Jordans that my parents got me. Like they're destroyed, they're crumbling, like you said, the sole is completely falling apart. I'll never get rid of them.
Nope.
They
I'm gonna put mine on display in like a shadow box or something.
dope. Dip them in bronze,
Now, I don't know about that. Takes away their character.
very much.
Chris, do you still have any shoes you've held on to?
I had my Globe Rodney Mullen fours for a while, but those
Nice,
were completely shredded. So,
as they should have been if you were wearing
right.
them. That's awesome.
And now for the most important and final question of the night. Most
Sure,
important, so just
hit me.
buckle up. What's your favorite dinosaur?
A Tyrannosaurus Rex, easily. I that's no joke. That's what I'm getting tattooed on me next week.
That's sweet.
I am. I swear to God on my mother's life, that is what's it's getting tattooed on the back of my leg is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And that is such a dope question. I'm a massive dino head. I love dinosaurs. Absolutely do. And I got to go with Old Faithful. T-Rex all the way, baby.
Now, are you going realistic? Or are you doing like a cartoony dinosaur?
So it's actually like it's the T-Rex skull, so it's like a fossilized version of like what it like looks like with the bone. With like trees and palm trees and stuff like that like behind it.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my friend has a
I'll have
lot of dinosaur tattoos. She's obsessed with dinosaurs. I'll have to like
that's
send you some
awesome.
of her tattoos because they're pretty awesome tattoos. Whoever her artist is, I
That,
can't remember. They're amazing.
that's awesome. I'll definitely send you guys a picture of the tattoo. The 20 no the 28th. Is that next week or is that the week after?
Week
That's
Yeah.
when I'm
after, I
getting my
think.
Tyrannosaurus. That's when I'm getting my Tyrannosaurus Rex tattoo. So
Or is
Chris,
it the end of next
we'll
week?
have to use like the picture. We'll do a teaser video about the dinosaur tattoo and then insert the photo.
There we go.
I I love that. I love that. Let's do it. Believe it or not, some of the new merch ideas that I had were I was gonna have some kind of Tyrannosaurus Rex. I was gonna have like a dino like merch theme. So that would be cool for sure.
Yeah, but you went with In-N-Out Burger.
I did. I love it. I love it so much. It's my guilty pleasure. It's my cheat meal, and I have it way too often. And it also just kind of goes with like my vibe. Like I'm very, again, I'm originally from the East Coast, New Jersey, but like I was like 12 years old and I was telling my parents I was going to live in San Diego one day, and I had never even fucking been to California. So it had always kind of been like the plan to like move to California from a very young age, and I was just like immersed in like that culture, especially in like the 90s. They glamorized it so much, um with like, surf and skate, and I was into all of that shit growing up and I wanted to be around it. So now it's only fitting that like I'm here. And when I the first meal I had when I moved here was In-N-Out, and I just it holds a very special place in my heart. So felt like it embodied what the music was about. It was fun and fast and poppy. So I was like, let's do an In-N-Out. Let's do an In-N-Out merch line.
I love that because I also I'll call it romanticized California growing up too, and it was really big in the 90s and early 2000s. But I had fallen in love with Encinitas
Yeah,
because I kept seeing like a lot of the skaters were from there, and I'm like, heck yeah, Encinitas. And so when I eventually took a trip to California, I'm like, I gotta go to Encinitas. There is nothing there but rich people houses, like right on the beach. I'm like, damn, I'm never gonna afford that.
that ironically enough, that's where Tom DeLonge was from. That's where he grew up from. Blink-182 was Encinitas, California.
It was probably different times when he grew up there, though, so it's probably changed a lot.
What's crazy is that like still like a middle class home back then is was probably still ridiculously expensive, like to maintain and to own. Like, yeah, I could never imagine. There's no,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've never been to California. Never.
it's
Never.
rad. It's it's cool. I mean, I live here, so
You
I don't
gotta
really
say
know.
that.
Like, I guess so, right? I mean, look, it's expensive as fuck. Um, but and I don't like politics, but it sucks with that stuff too. But honestly, the weather, you can't beat it. You have the beach 15 minutes away. You've got suburbia 15 minutes away. You've got the city, like, like 15 minutes away. It's kind of nice to just kind of have all of those things right there. And you take one look at a California sunset and you're like, shit, okay, this is why you're here.
Right.
Um, and it kind of brings you back and it's all worth it.
Well, the dinosaur question was our last question. Is there anything else you'd want to tell listeners before we finish up?
Um, Check out at Gary Bender Music on Instagram and all socials. GaryBenderMusic.com is now live. I have merch there. Come check out any shows that I might have. I'll be having it on my Instagram and on my website as well. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to get to know me a little bit more outside of music. You guys are fucking rad as hell.